That shit crazy.
Oh, welcome to Daily Conversation. Hope you enjoyed the show. What's up with it? Your boy Torae is here. My guy Bova is here as well.
Yes.
Welcome to the Daily Conversation. Now, granted, the title is Daily Conversation, but I don't want to talk to Bova every single day. But when we do get up, we're going to have amazing people to chop it up with in all walks of entertainment, athletics, just anybody doing the damn thing. That's what we're here to put on for, man. So welcome to Daily Conversation. And we want to welcome our first acclaimed guest that we have joining us all the way from OKC. Are you from OKC exactly?
No, I'm from Lawton. We're about an hour southwest.
Okay, an hour southwest. I only been up there like one time, so all that shit is OKC to me until somebody breaks it down.
Yeah,
but we do have Robert Peterson joining us. What's going on, homie?
Hey, pleasure to be here, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely. See, look, your hat say OKC. It threw me off.
That's all we got, man. Me and the Thunder.
You and the Thunder. That's it, right?
That's it.
That's
it. Rob, now how about you and the family, man? Everybody's good over there?
Man, we're really good, man. We're holding up. You know, we spend a lot of quality time together, you know, watching a lot of movies. Occasionally we get out and do a hike where it's just, you know, the family and I, not too many other people. You're trying to keep social distancing and playing cards like crazy, bro.
Yeah.
What's the card game? What's the family card game?
Man, we play Uno. We play Phase 10 or something like that. It's like 3 or 4 games. We just picked up another game yesterday called Duo. So okay. I mean, you know, they keep us. The kids keep us entertained.
Of course.
I'm not mad at that. I've been busting ass in Uno in my crib as well.
Yeah. It's all kind of new rules, man.
Of course.
Now we gotta stick to the script. You know, one time Uno tweeted out some off-brand rules, and we was like, you know, we ain't even listening to you either. Like, we know the rules already. You know what I
mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, man, Robert is an amazing artist, super duper talented. I find it so intriguing off the rip, like as I was doing my research on you, that you just started about 8 years ago. Is that so?
Yeah. This summer will make 8 years.
That's crazy, man. What inspired you off the rip to even start to create? How did you know you had that talent, that passion? Like, how did it come about?
Man, honestly, I really didn't know. I got injured, and I was like, man, I got to figure out something. I got to, something to do. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, well, I'm gonna try and teach myself how to paint. And so I went out and got a cheap little $7 paint set and little $5, $6, $7 canvases and painted. And, one thing turned to another. I was doing a show like 8 months later in New York City. Dang near sold out. I think I brought 34 pieces, sold 31 the first 4 hours of the show. And I was like, you know what I'm saying? I could do this. And so I've been doing it full time ever since.
Cool. All right. So first of all, I feel like you just skipped a lot of important parts right now. You know what I'm saying? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rewind. Let's take it back to when you're in fashion school. You know, you're out there in New York. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
Kind of explain what you and your family are going through and how things just pan out from there.
Okay. So like 2007, I actually was finally accepted into Parsons, the new school. In the village, in Greenwich Village. I was going for an associate's degree in men's fashion design. And so that was always what I thought I wanted to do ever since I think like 11th grade high school is when I started designing clothes. And I was like, okay, I want to take this serious. So finally, we had some kids, so it got pushed to the side a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Finally, our kids got big enough. We were like, okay, well, let's make this move. Because the kids was out of diapers. They didn't necessarily have to be in daycare. You know what I'm saying? So they can go to school so we could make it work, because daycare is expensive. So we go to New York.
Expensive.
Yeah, we go to New York. I had student loans through Wachovia, and that was when the recession hit of 2008. And so Wachovia filed bankruptcy, and then I couldn't find another loan, another bank to do the student loan because I still had like 40 or 50 grand through Wachovia. And so I ended up having to drop out of school, and I was working for Kenneth Cole at the time, and retail, and they ended up closing that store, so I got laid off from that. And basically, one thing led to another. We found ourselves homeless, and so it was either we had a Suburban at the time, or I went to my cousin and was like, look, I don't have any other options. And so they were like, well, we've got a room up in the attic. And so basically, the five of us, we moved upstairs into this attic of their house on some Anne Frank type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because they had a baby, and so we had to like all be quiet at like 8 o'clock. It was like no noise because you couldn't. Our room was right over the baby's room.
Right.
And you wanna respect their wishes because they're nice enough to let us, stay in the house. So we was like quiet, man. It was crazy. And we did that for as long as we could. Of course, you being cramped up in the room like that. My wife and I, we started arguing and stuff like that. And so it's like, look, let's just move you and the kids back to Lawton, Oklahoma. I'll finish doing what I'm doing here to get some money together, and then I'll move back. And so I ended up moving back like 5 or 6 months later. Or no, actually, no, that was like 45 days. 45 days later, after we moved the family, I moved back. Started working for Goodyear tire plant. I was a fork truck operator. Went in one day before work, was running on a treadmill broke, my hip popped. Doctor said I'd have my hip replaced. And so that's when I was like, okay, look, I got to do something because I was depressed.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And so I started drawing, started painting. And then, like I said, a dude picked me up off of Facebook and was like, look, I want to do a show. Can you do a show? And I think he gave me like 40 something odd days to create the body of work. And so, I mean, like, there was like no sleep. Like a lot of the people that were following my journey from early on, they were like, man, you don't ever sleep. And that was the truth. I mean, because I was passionate about something. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, if you're passionate about something, it keeps you up late at night and wakes you up early in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
To prepare for the show, being that it was your first time out the gate, like, did you know what to expect? Did you know how many pieces to create? Like, what was that process like?
Dude was like, you need to create like 12 to 15 pieces, but he knew how I work. I mean, I work pretty fast. He was like, if however many you can come up with, we'll show. And so I was like, all right, cool. And so what ended up happening, I want to say they hung like 20 some odd pieces. And then as they were selling, they were taking the sold pieces down and putting up new pieces. And so I ended up doing, like I said, 31 out of 34 pieces. I created the 34 pieces, man. Like, I mean, because some of the pieces were works on paper. And I mean, like during this quarantine that we're in, I've been doing random people drawings. And I mean, to keep your mind free or to keep busy, you know what I'm saying? I'll do 2 or 3 of those in a day. And so I think I took like 15 works on paper to my first show. And those were the first to sell out. And then, I mean, I had, canvases that ranged anywhere from, I think, like 10 or 11 by 14 on up to like maybe 60 by 48. You know what I'm saying? Just working, bro. Just working. And I mean, I honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I'm coming from Oklahoma, showing in New York. I never really knew anything about doing the show because I was completely new. I'd only been doing this for like 8 months.
Right.
And I mean, there's no art culture here where I'm at. I mean, if you're not doing Native American or Western art, there's no culture for you. You know what I'm saying? They took art, like programs, out of public schools almost 20 years ago. Right. There wasn't art when I was in school. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't take any art classes, so I didn't know nothing about it. I remember hearing Swiss Beats rap about, I think he said Jay-Z had a Basquiat. I was like, man, I need to find what these shoes are. And so, I mean, I thought Basquiat was like just a high brand, like, sneaker, like Louis Vuitton, Gucci or something. You know what I'm saying? So as I began doing my research, and I was like, man, this is a dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is some real stuff. And then, of course, that still, I mean, it still wasn't nothing that made me want to be an artist at that time when he did that, because he did that track back in like 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. And so, I mean, I didn't have any expectations. It was just, I was grateful for the opportunity to show and to get back to New York. Since I hadn't, at that particular time, I hadn't been back since we moved back to Lawton from being homeless. And so it was cool to go back on different terms. You know what I'm saying? And so when the show opened up like it opened up, I mean, like as soon as I touched down, I got a call from Chris Bevins. He was like, yo, Emory Jones, he wants to meet you. So I went up to Rock Nation. Emory picked up like a couple pieces. Chris Bevan picked up a piece. And then when MTV found out I was there, I went up to MTV and did an interview at MTV. BET came out. Beyonce people had some people out there before Donald Trump was the president. He had some people come out to the show. So I mean, it was pretty dope to see, the type of turnout that I had. One of the only pieces that didn't sell was a Trump piece, which was funny. Like I think about it, like when he became president, I started seeing some of the shady stuff he was doing. Man, I sold that piece. I sold that. It cost me money to get rid of that piece.
Right.
Like, because it was one of those things. Like my piece. Yeah, man, I didn't want it in my collection. It was one of those pieces where it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want this associated with me as an artist, but I don't believe in necessarily painting over my work. So I was like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to see if we can't, push this piece off and then give the money away. And I was like, look, we're going to do it. I think we did I did like a 15-minute sale on the piece, like open it up. And some dude came through and I want to say he paid like $40. And it cost me money to ship, to package and ship it, but it was out, and I don't know who dude is. I don't know what he did with the piece, but it was like I was just happy that I got it, away from me, and I didn't sign it. He didn't get a certificate of authenticity. It was like one of those things he knew. It was like, I just got to get rid of this.
Got you. All right, so then so your first show wraps up. It's kind of like a whirlwind for you. There's a lot of people calling you, a lot of people coming to see you on social medias, websites, things like that. Who was like one of the first people that out of the blue just hit you up and was like, look, I need to work with you, or, I'm interested in a piece?
Honestly, dude, like, and I don't love to like talk about him when it comes to my art because we bumped heads, but the first person like that called me out of the blue was Swiss Beats. Like, he called me and it was one of those things like I didn't believe that it was really Swiss. Like, I still to this day don't know how he got my phone number. You know what I'm saying? He was like, yo, I really respect what you're doing. He was like, we went on to talk. He gave me a little bit of advice. And then he was like, look, I want to buy 2 pieces from you. And I was like, cool. And I was like, what do you want? And he was like, I got these images I think that you could do. So he sent me the pieces and he commissioned the work. And then he commissioned the work. He paid for both of those. And then he picked up one more piece. And then some shady stuff went down. I mean, he ended up getting like a total of 9 pieces from me, but the shady stuff happened like around like the 7th piece.
Interesting. Does that make it difficult for you to move on and do business, to trust people when you run into like roadblocks and shit like that?
Oh, of course. I mean, I take one thing that taught me is like, don't necessarily, place your confidence in somebody because of, who they are, if they're a celebrity, you know what I'm saying? And regardless of who the person is, what their connections are, always make them, put a deposit down, and don't ship art before they pay.
I feel you. I mean, that can go to any business across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's definitely important. How do you figure what you set a price point at for the art? Obviously with somebody like Swiss trying to commission some work, Swiss got a couple dollars. So do you treat a Swiss sale different than you treat a Torae sale? You know what I mean? Because I ain't got.
Well, I mean, my work is priced now through galleries. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something I understand, the way they come up with the prices, so I can set prices before it touches the gallery, because it's just something you learn as an artist. But I've been fortunate to where I don't have to really worry about prices. I mean, like when Swiss called me, that was before I had my first show. So yeah, it was just like, okay, he told me, he was like, I think he paid like $1,500 a pop, which was more than what I was making. He was like, we do $1,500 a pop. I was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I mean, it took me a week to do the work. I got $3,000. I wasn't making $3,000 a month riding a fork truck 12 hours a day at Goodyear. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, let's do this. But like from that first show, they set my prices, and as they sold, and then I ended up doing auctions, and then your pieces increase in value. The galleries and museums and art dealers are noticing what's going on, and then your prices are kind of set, and then it gives you a roundabout idea of what your work can be created and sold for.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So now, when you sit down for non-commissioned pieces, how do you what motivates you to choose like who you're going to paint, or what type of thing you're gonna paint?
Honestly, it's just about what moves me. And typically what happens is one piece will lend itself to another. You know what I'm saying? Like while I'm creating one, I'll get an idea for another. And then it's just about executing on how to get that reference image. I mean, I have some amazing photographers who I work with. I can give them my ideas. And then typically we start searching for a person, or they'll send pictures of people that might fit the idea that I have for the painting. Honestly, it's I have a great team. Like I said, a great team of photographers. It's like, look, this is what I like. And if I can't get to a photographer, I feel like I can do it myself. I've got like this piece I'm working on right now of this dude on his bicycle. I shot that myself. I took the guy. We met up here in town, and I was like, look, I went to Target or Walmart, or I think Walmart, bought a bicycle, mongoose bicycle, I was like, look, I got this idea for this painting, and it was something that just stuck with me long enough. I was like, screw it, I got to go buy this bike. So, you know what I'm saying? And dude was down, and we went out, we shot for like 20, 30 minutes. I got the image. I was like, good, let's do it. And so then, man, this is probably about a year ago. I just started back painting on this piece this week. But it's one of those things. It's like, you know, I once I got the picture, I was able to rest a little bit because there was other works, because I had shows and other obligations and commissions that I had to, you know, tend to before I could do this. Because like this is something that will end up going into a show, but it's not spoken for at the moment. You know what I'm saying? I imagine once it sells, I had a company reach out to me last week. One of their clients is Times Magazine, and Times put them up on my work. And so they were like, well, we want to, you know, get images of all your larger pieces. And so this is one of the larger pieces. And so once it's finished, it'll definitely be something that I email over to them, you know, with a price on it, and see what we can do.
When it comes to, like, you spoke about inspiration, it's interesting to hear that you say that sometimes you'll start a piece and then go into the next piece. As a writer, you know, sometimes I have the same thing where I'm writing a song. You know, I might get 8 bars in on a song, and then I step away from it, and I might start working on something totally different. How do you feel that helps or doesn't help the creative process?
Well, I mean, me personally, for me, what happens is I can grow impatient. You know what I'm saying? And get bored, and it's like, okay, well, I want to do that, but also at the same time, like, I don't want to stop what I'm working on. So it'll push me to stay up longer or wake up earlier to get to work on the particular piece that I'm working on. It's been a little bit different with this quarantine, because I feel like artists, whether it's writers, music artists, you know, directors, or people like myself, visual artists, painters, we kind of will tell the story, you know what I'm saying? And things that we create during these times, even if it's just, say, like a song like Drake's got that song, people are going to remember that song. 10 years from now, they're going to think about when that song comes on, these moments, you know what I'm saying? And so I felt led early on during this quarantine, once like my city, my town shut down, I was like, okay, well, I've got to do something, because I know, like, my household, my wife, we own a hair salon, and she was taking it hard. And so it was like, well, people are taking this hard, so the best thing to do is going to be to, you know, do what I do best. And so what I have my kids go in and pick random people. That way it's not biased to me. I don't go in and pick people I know, or, you know, somebody that looks like me, or somebody that's got a lot of followers, or, you know, whatever. My kids go in, they pick a random person who likes or comments on one of my drawings, and then I draw that person. And so it was what initially the idea was that person would feel better, feel excited, because you have an artist that is showing internationally in galleries and museums and some of the largest collections that there are drawing them. Like, it would feel dope to have Kende Wiley draw me or paint me. You know what I'm saying? But no jabs at Kende. Kende's a lot bigger and a bit more busy than I am. But I felt like for the people that support my work, they appreciate the work, and they understand that this is not every day that I'm going to draw them. You know what I'm saying? And so the idea was that when I did create that work of that person, that they would be lifted up, that they would feel good, that they felt like, okay, this is cool. You know what I'm saying? There's a piece of art of me that's going to live forever, because art lives forever. I mean, I was in a museum looking at a piece from freaking 1500. You know what I'm saying? Like, the works that I'm creating now are going to live 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 years from now. You know what I'm saying? And what ended up happening is a lot of my followers began to get excited just to see who was going to get drawn. And even if it wasn't them that was being drawn, they were still happy because somebody was being drawn, and it was somebody they might have been following, or somebody related to, or, you know, just know. And I was like, I'm only going to do 10 pieces. I think I'm up to like 20, maybe like 21, 22 pieces already. You know what I'm saying? And so that has pulled me away from this painting. But I don't mind. I mean, it's like, okay, I can take a break away from creating this piece to go ahead and do a drawing, and then I'll get back out here to painting. Whereas before all of this, it was like, if I started painting, I'm not stopping to do no drawing. I'm not stopping to do nothing else. I'm going to paint until I finish painting. But I think that this is just something that's bigger than me, and trying to, you know, do my part to bring some joy and some hope back to, you know, the people that are, all of us, we're all experiencing this, but some people are taking it harder, and it's been crazy to hear some of the stories. Like, I did a drawing of a person, they were like, man, you just don't know. my mother, has got this and it's going through this, and it's like, that's crazy. And they're like, well, this just makes me feel better. And one lady was like, look, my son was a huge fan of yours. You did a picture of my son and blah, blah, blah. And it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't expect that.
Right.
Especially since it's so random. Like, I don't expect to draw a kid and then have a man, and then his mom reach out to me and talk about how it's changed her son, how he feels better now. And this is the first time in a while that he actually looks like he's, kind of happy like himself again.
Right.
That's just, it's super dope how it all coming together.
It's amazing what art does to people, and you spoke about it. It's like one of the first programs cut from school, the art, the painting class, the art teaching, music class, those get cut from school, but they're so intricate to people's lives. The songs that I create, the art that you create. I think that another reason why people were probably excited to follow that journey is because it felt like they were a part of it. They were living through it. And even if they weren't the subject of the painting, they got a chance to see it from the beginning, see a person. So they feel a more connection. They feel more connected to it just as it's happening in real time. And I think that that's what locks people in for life, is when they feel a connection to the art that you're creating.
That's perfectly said, man.
Now, I did have a question. I'm not too familiar with like the art world and how things work, but can you talk a little bit about like some hurdles you faced? Maybe it's geographically, or maybe it's race, or maybe it's age, or anything that you faced personally that you can attribute to the way that the industry is.
That's a great question, because all of that plays a part in things that I've faced. Like when I go and I show in large like trade shows, like I did the LA art show in February, the first week of February. That was my first time. I remember like last year, I want to say it was last year or the year before last, I found out about the LA art show. Last year, I was like, man, I really want to show it. And this year, one of the galleries that represents my work ended up being like, okay, well, we got you in. And the way they just like any other of the large art trade shows, there's a committee that votes on what galleries and artists that they can allow to show in their deal. Right. And my work was selected. Once the work for the gallery that represents me was shown, they selected me as a featured artist and gave me my own. You have the booth for the gallery. Like if you've ever been to Art Basel, like all of the galleries have their own booth. Mm-hmm. Well, my gallery had a booth, and I think I had maybe 6 or 7 pieces in that. But the people that put on the LA Art Show ended up making me a featured artist and gave me my own booth and put me up front. I mean, these booths can be anywhere 30 to 60 grand. Right. So they gave me my own booth and put only my work up in that booth, which was super dope. And so you feel like, okay, if I was in these larger market areas, these larger cities, my work would actually be further along than it is, because some of the things that I faced are people saying, well, you're from Oklahoma, we're not really taken serious outside of Western or Native American art. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, well, when you approach the galleries to show, they're like, oh, well, we're not interested in any that work. And it's like, well, you haven't even looked at my portfolio yet. You know what I'm saying? And then also at the same time, it's like some galleries will be like, well, you've only been painting for 7 years. So they don't want to take you serious. But when you look at my sales, I have the sales number of some established artists that we all celebrate that have been painting for, 10, 15, 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And it's because I look at, okay, well, they're not taking me serious because I'm from Oklahoma. They're not taking me serious because I've only been painting for 7 years. And you also have the fact that some of the people aren't wanting to take me in because I'm African American. And so that pushes me to work harder and to try and perfect my craft to get my work up to that level. You know what I'm saying? To where it can be looked at on the same walls of, say, like a Kerry James Marshall or a Kende Wiley, or even a Hebrew Brantley, and taken serious. But doing it in half the time that they're doing it, and doing it on my own, because, say, like Kende Wiley he no longer paints his own work. He paints the body, but nothing else of the work. And so that's pushing to do it, but still people, huh?
I said that's ghostwriting.
It is ghostwriting. But I mean, you gotta respect it, though. I mean, he's somebody who came before me, and I'll always, regardless. I mean, the truth is, because you have a lot of people who do hate on Kende Wiley. The truth is, what got him to where he is now is his work, and because he is where he is now, he's able to afford the people to come in and paint the work for him. You know what I'm saying? It's just smart. It's a smart move on his part, because now he can create more works, larger works in less time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is, I mean, I respect it, but at the same time, I feel like, okay, well, if you galleries are taking this serious, we should take mine serious. And so, I mean, it's put a little chip on my shoulder, but all that's done is make me work harder and try and knock out more and more work, because those are the things that we face, like you were saying, you know, as far as the location, the age, or the years that I've been painting, and stuff like that. I mean, but I mean, as far as I go, I mean, all it's done is push me. It hasn't got me to where I wanted to give up or anything like that, or hold me back. I mean, like I said, I mean, it's in 7 years, I mean, I'm in over 30 countries. Yeah. You know,
it's amazing. And again, like you said, it'll push you, you know, to push you to work hard. And there's some things that you can't change really are your skin color, your race, the amount of years that you put in, but you can change your location. Have you ever thought about relocating from where you are to a bigger city, to a bigger market where art is a little more respected?
My son graduates high school next year. After that, we're considering moving out west.
Okay.
My oldest son, he graduated last year, so it was one of those things where it was like, okay, well, let's let Caleb graduate, which is my oldest son, and then my youngest, Joshua, my middle child, who's graduating next year, he is super active in sports and has a lot of good friends, and so it's like, I don't want to take him off of his teams. I don't want to take him away from his friends. It's kind of a sacrifice, but I mean, like, I do this for my family anyway, so it wouldn't make sense to pull my family away from this to pursue something else, because then I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is providing the best lifestyle and the life for my family, which includes allowing them to be in the schools that they're comfortable in, where they're prospering, they're growing, and they're able to, you know, establish relationships that will go on into their adult life.
Absolutely. All three of us on here are fathers, so we all know the sacrifices that you make for your family, for your kids. Let me ask you about the difficulties that it may have caused in your relationship early on. I know what it's like to be a struggling artist, for sure. I know what it's like to be in the projects at the bottom and trying to figure it out, and you know, having somebody that's on your side and somebody that understands. So, you know, if you could just speak to the toll that your relationship took a little bit.
Honestly, like, I mean, I have an extremely amazing wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were homeless twice before I was an artist. So I think as long as like we weren't homeless, she was down to ride. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, there's been times where, you know, even after that first show where, you know, I didn't have, you know, any money, and she had to come through and buy me the canvases, because she knew that once those canvases were purchased, then I would make some money and I would take care of her, whatever. It wasn't even like with the first few shows, I mean, the money was coming in, but also like to produce a show, people don't understand, like, a show can run you anywhere from, you know, 5 to 10, maybe 12 grand to produce the work and ship the work and then get to where the work is being shown. And she's been down to ride. And then like over the last, I don't know, maybe like 3 years or so is where it's really stepped up, you know, and put us into a new tax bracket. And so I've been able to do more, to show my appreciation. You know what I'm saying? In 2018, I took all of the sales from October and basically just invested into my wife, because she's invested in me, and I bought her own salon, and we fully furnished it. No loans, no credit cards, no investors, just my wife until it's hers. She can move how she wants. And we've been able to do that because I've been fortunate enough to create the work, and the work is selling itself, and people are attracted to the work and they see it as an asset. You know what I'm saying? And so it's making people want to come in and invest to the work at all different price points. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll have somebody that'll come in, they're like, well, we've got, you know, $700. And so it's like, okay, we'll work with that 700. You know what I'm saying? And then you turn around and that work in 2 or 3 years is selling for, you know, 3 or 4 grand. People are catching up on that and picking up on it, and it's making them want to invest, you know, into the work. And so that allows us to do, you know, to do different things. And so I think that for her, I think, you know, she would have supported me regardless of what the outcome would have been. Right. But I think that she knew, you know, when you have a strong woman beside you, they see something in you that sometimes you don't even see in yourself. And I think that she's seen what I was going to be, what I still will be coming, because I'm still not where and I'm sure like with both of y'all as well, we're not where we fully want to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't believe in being stagnant. I believe like you get to one level of success. Okay, now you enjoy that moment, but you figure out a way to step it up even higher. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that she's seen that and she sees it, and so she's always been there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's been a couple times where she's been like, "Babe, you might have to go get a job." But by the end of the day, she's like, "Nah, it's okay. But you do need to get out there. You need to be painting something." Yeah. So, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I have an amazing wife, an amazing family. For the longest, they were the only team that I had. You know, from you know, taking care of, you know, making sure all of the work is put into a catalog on my computer, to, you know, for the history of the work, to managing my bank accounts, you know, helping me to handle my emails and push the work, package the work, ship the work. You know what I'm saying? Like that, my family, my wife, and my kids have been there the whole time. And I mean, so it's a good feeling now to know, you know, that we're able to, you know, live a good life, a comfortable life, you know, especially during the hard times that we're in, which is also another reason why I decided to do, you know, and again, I brought my kids in, my family, to do the random picking, you know what I'm saying? Because it goes back to how it started in the beginning. That was who would help me. And so they're helping me during this, because without the people who follow and support my work, there would be no me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like that's another reason why I wanted to do the whole random drawings.
Definitely. So talk to me a little bit about the next level for an artist, and specifically for yourself. Like, is it opening your own gallery? Is it art books? Is it, you know, like, what is that next level?
For me, my next level, honestly, is just finding, because your galleries, there's like a tier type of gallery. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have your entry level, you have, you know, your medium, which is probably about where I'm at right now. Mid sales, I would say anywhere between like 3,500 and 60 grand. It's like your mid sale type galleries, and then you have your top tier, like the Gagosian, the Guggenheim, stuff like that, where your pieces are selling like, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, so my goal right now is just to consistently get into a place where, you know, my larger works of art are selling. You know what I'm saying? Because consistently right now I'm selling, you know, smaller works. But I want to get to where I'm consistently selling larger works, and they're selling out before they're even completed, because artists, that's what you want your work to be in high demand. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like, okay, I'm gonna make an announcement, I'm getting ready to paint this piece, and you have people lined up. You know, because I want my work in as many collections before I pass away as possible, because what that does is that secures a future for my kids and my grandkids and everybody to come before me. I mean, I didn't come from money. I didn't come from anything. I mean, I came from nothing. You know what I'm saying? And my kids can say that, but my grandkids will never be able to say that, because of the work that I'm putting in now. As far as books go, I am in talks with a lady. Her name is Lisa Tweedy. She's out of New Jersey. She is going to be the person who helps to put my book together. We've already made that agreement. She's going to be the one to document everything. She's already, you know, starting interviews and stuff like that with me to get the material together, to put the books together. Other than those two things, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I want to get into, you know, a better position where my work is in higher demand. I want to show in larger museums. You know, I do a lot of gallery shows. I've done a few museum shows, but I want to get into the larger museums, like the Brooklyn Museum, the LA Art Museum, you know, stuff like that. I want to get into those places with my work, so people can see what I have. This is a gift that God gave me, and I want to share it with the world.
Absolutely. That's the only art gallery or other art showing that I ever saw was at the Brooklyn Museum. That's when I watched Spike Lee, She's Gotta Have It, and I was watching Nola Dog. That's the only let me ask you about some of your tools of the trade. You know, What do you use? You talked about initially starting with the $5 brush and the $6 canvas or what have you.
Right.
As you get better, obviously there are tons of brushes, right? I would assume, and tons of paint and all of that. Is this something that you learned on your own, or did you do the research, or was it a little bit of both?
No, everything for me is trial and error. I feel like for me personally, and I mean, other artists might be able to relate, but me personally, I mean, I fear trying to learn something because I'm scared it's going to distract me from being myself. You know what I'm saying? And so I just kind of learn as I go. You know, that doesn't always work for everybody. Everybody can't, you know, take that as advice. But for me, I just learn as I go. As far as the brushes that I use, honestly, just being 100 with y'all, like, I don't know the names of the brushes I use. Like, you know, like, I know that they're different shapes. I know what those shapes do, but I don't know the name. If I were to go to a store and be like, hey, I need a brush, and they're like, what kind of brush you need? I'm like, oh, the flat kind, the pointy kind. Or, you know, I need one that does this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I know what it does.
Right.
But I've never learned. I've had no training. I don't have any mentors that are artists. And as far as like, I really love oil paints. I've found one that really, really works for me. It's kind of expensive, but you can tell the difference. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those things where as I began to make money, it only made sense to invest back into, you know, myself. Because early on, I remember there was a time where I had a sale to a professional athlete, and I made like 20-something grand, you know, in like 3 weeks. It took 3 weeks to create the work, I made like 20 grand. And I spent that 20 grand plus two. I spent like 22 in like 3.5 weeks, and nothing was spent on art. Nothing, not a canvas, not a paintbrush. And then like I didn't have any sales for a minute, and it was like, hey, I had to ask my wife, babe, I need you to help me buy, you know, some varnish or something. Like, and it didn't make sense to me. And that was the only time that I've ever done anything like that. Was the first and last. It was like, okay, well, from now on, whenever I make sales, the first thing I'm going to do is buy something. I don't care if I need it or not.
Right.
I make sure I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. You know what I'm saying? I love oils. I love spray paint. I toy around every now and then with acrylic, but I mean, that was what I started out with. But after learning how to manipulate oil paints, I feel like there's nothing better than that. I remember my wife, she bought me several books about artists that came before me. And I noticed that one of the things when it came to looking at the images of the artist's work, when it looked at the medium, a lot of them were using oils. And so it was like, well, if these artists are doing that, I need to try it. And so that's what led me to do the oil paints. But like when I do, so like my works on paper is usually Copic marker, maybe pencil, ink, charcoal. There's been times where I've used ground coffee, you know what I'm saying, like to create shading for flesh skin tone, you know what I'm saying? Trying to think what else I've used. Oil sticks. Yeah. that morning light brew.
That light brew.
Definitely. So talk. You know, we've. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So talk about a few. You know, I know you're real humble and you don't drop a lot of names here and there, but talk about some of the more interesting people, if you will. You know, I know there's a prince or two that has some of your work. There's, you know, a lot of athletes in certain places. Yeah. Talk about some of those. And I've got a prince.
Yeah, I've got a prince in Dubai. When I had my surgery, this was like 2012, I think, September 2012. Right around the time I had my surgery, I had a prince in Dubai. Somebody reached out and was like, such and such, I'm on behalf of Prince such and such. And so we began talking. My wife helped me to handle that particular sale, but I was asked to, you know, keep them anonymous. I don't know why, but it's something that I do respect. That when people come to me, they're like, you know, please don't let nobody. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? I think that's super important, and it allows people to know that they can trust you, and they tend to come back and become repeat buyers because they can trust you because they know that you're not trying to create money off of association. You know what I'm saying? That's something that they're used to. But as far as like people, like celebrities, I mean, you got Diddy, you got Floyd Mayweather, the Oklahoma City Thunder, Monster Products, Soul something. I don't. There's a headphone company. I got my own headphones with Soul Republic. I believe that's what it's called.
Yeah, Soul Republic.
Yeah. God dang. Carlos Boozer.
What about public places? Is there anywhere public where somebody be able
to ring the air horn off at least one time?
What about public places? Anywhere public where people can see?
Say it again?
Any public places where your art's displayed where somebody might be able to, you know, see it in person? Isn't there a restaurant or somewhere where many pieces are?
Well, I've got like here in Oklahoma, there's like one of the more popular restaurants is called Frida. Mm-hmm. The owner of that, they came in and all their artwork in there is mine. He dropped a lot of money. I thought he was gonna want like a discount or something like that. When the gallery reached out to me, they was like, because I didn't know the guy. Now that I know the guy, like honestly, like He's an absolutely amazing man and has a beautiful family. When the gallery reached out to me, they didn't say much about him. They were like, yeah, he's wanting to, furnish the deal, and he's gonna want, all your Frida work, everything you've got painting the Frida he wants. So I was like, all right, cool. I thought they was gonna be like, we need like 30% off or something like that. And they were like, nah, he just wants it. So that was an amazing thing. Here recently in February, St. Jude's Hospital picked up a piece of mine, which was the most amazing thing for me, because I did a painting. It was the first time I ever actually done an old painting of one of my kids. I did a painting of my son, my oldest son, who joined the Navy. The goal of the painting was to create the painting and have it finished before he left without him knowing that I was painting it. And so I kept our garage is my studio. We have a 3-car garage, which I've converted into my studio. It allows me to be, close to the kids and here at the house to be able to be where they need me to be. So I kind of locked everybody out the studio, created the painting or whatever. And then I had him write on it. The title of it is Tomorrow's Heroes, because for multiple, one of the reasons was because he joined the Navy and was going to the Navy to protect and serve our nation. And second is because when he was born, it completely changed my life because I was headed down a bad direction. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have easily been dead or in jail or something like that. And when he was born, it was like, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So he's always been one of my biggest heroes. And so St. Jude's picked that piece up, St. Jude's in California. So I mean that's a piece. I'm not sure where it's currently hung at, but it's there. Honestly, I can't think of nothing else.
Nah, that's
the goal. Go ahead.
That's amazing. That's amazing in itself. Let me ask you again, because I'm a novice to the whole art world, and I guess a lot of us are. So I kind of want to make it a 2-part question. But is there any residual income or royalty on the painting, or is it like a one-shot deal?
It's a one-shot deal, honestly. I have a few of my collectors that I've, established really good relationships with, where, I've got one gentleman, for instance, I've got a Kurt Cobain. He owns the Kurt Cobain, right? But it's here at my house. Now, he bought it from me for X amount of dollars, right? And then I put it in a show. And the idea after we purchased it, I wanted to show it because the show was in Seattle.
Right.
Like, okay, this is a good piece for Seattle because it's Kurt Cobain, where he's from. And so he was like, look, if you want to put it up for sale, put it up for sale, and you can take 10% of the sale. And of course, when he bought it, the value, since when he originally purchased it, the value of my work has increased.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there are collectors that I have that they bought work early on, and they're like, okay, if you decide that you do want to show this, if it sells, we will negotiate a commission. But once, like so many other artists, when you sell the work, once they have it, if it goes to auction or they sell it, through a gallery or whatever, I get no money. That is one beautiful thing that I think Swiss Beats is trying to work out. I don't know the details of how he's going to make it happen, but he is trying to make it to where, artists will make money off of their work forever, once it exchanges hands. I would love to see that happen, because I think when you look at people like, say, Basquiat and Andy Warhol that have some of the top sales, right? And then you look at their family members aren't making any of this money.
Right.
Basquiat has a piece sells for $158 million. His sister, his family isn't seeing any of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, so for me personally, one thing that I learned, and this is before Swiss Beats started talking about artists making money off of their work, was that I made sure that every single year my kids, get multiple originals. And then whenever I do print releases, the first print from the run always goes to one of my kids.
Got it.
My kids, every single print that I've ever done, as long as I've been doing prints, one of my kids has one of those. You know what I'm saying? Because if there's a 1 of 25, and say my daughter, she got the first one last time, well, this one will go to one of my sons, and then I do another one, then that one will go to my son, and then I do it again, and that goes to my daughter. And then they all get an original every year, so that when they grow up, and it's my time, I've done my time here, and it's time for me to pass away or whatever, when my art starts hitting those crazy prices that my kids or my kids' kids, my grandkids, or even their kids will have something of mine that they can take to auction so that they can see, you know, the fruits of my labor.
That's amazing. It's a great way to think about it. Like I said, it was a two-parted question. And with that being said, what are you doing to, I guess, educate the next generation of artists, or any give backs, any schools, any programs and things of that nature? Just because in our communities, you know what I'm saying? Like rapping, you playing ball, you know, maybe you playing tennis now, but for the most part, you know, I don't know how many people are looking into painting and arting and being graphic artists and things of that nature. And so just, you know, if you could speak to that really quick, that'd be great.
That's a great question. There's several ways to answer that. One of the ways is that a lot of people don't have access to me, meaning like I live here in Oklahoma, they may live in New York. You know what I'm saying? I know that like in the beginning when I would reach out to artists, like just say through social media, because that's usually where we discover them from.
Right.
Or you find out about that artist and then you look them up on social media, reach out, ask them simple questions like, how do you apply the varnish? How long do you wait before you do this or that? And never, like you see where they open it, but they never respond. I respond to all of my inbox, my DMs at some point in time. Even if it takes me 3 days, 4 days, I still respond. And I respond in a way that I would want to be responded to, because you never know. I mean, this could be the next great artist and I'm just playing my part to help them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's, you give them the same respect that you would want or would have wanted. Another thing that I do is I do travel and do speaking engagements to kids. I did one just last year where I flew out to I think Augusta, Georgia, or something like that. And I spoke to 3,500 kids. We did 3 different seminars and then one large like big like conference type deal. Like it was huge. So I've traveled all over the state of Oklahoma. You know, whenever I get a chance to, I held a workshop because, like I said, there's no art classes here in Oklahoma, and so what we did was we had several schools bring the kids to the museum. Luckily, I have a great relationship with the curator at the museum here in town, and so we had several schools bring out elementary age kids, I think from like 3rd grade through 6th grade, and what we did was we talked about art, and then we held a class later for, I think it was like a 3-day class where I went in for like 2 to 3 days, and I taught the kids about artists, and then we did drawing exercises, because I feel like that's something that they need. You know what I'm saying? And then if I personally can't do it, then I do the print sale, which I just did like 2 weeks ago. I did a print sale where 100% of the money, I pay for the prints out of my pocket. I produce the art, buy the prints, my printer, and then I sell the prints, and then 100% of that money, so like if a piece sells for say $100, I'm not taking $12 out to print it or $5 out to ship it. I pay for shipping and everything out of my own pocket. And 100% of the money that is raised, I give to the Lawton Fortsville Art Council, because they're not state funded either. And it allows them to put on workshops that they put on for the kids. I feel like in any way that I can give back, you know, if it makes sense, I'm going to do it, because it, you know, I feel like I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's enough room for all of us and future artists to make it. If you're willing to put in the work, then I want you a part of it. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be peers with somebody who's not lazy than to be peers with somebody who, just because they have money and connections, you know, be a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And so when you see these kids and you're able to talk to them and you're able to teach them and inspire them or motivate them, then you kind of help nurture that next generation of hardworking artists. So, I mean, that's what I do.
That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Robert, thank you so much, man, for your time, for your talent. I gotta tap in. I gotta get my weight up so I can get a couple pieces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Want to do that, Bova? Any closing words?
Nah, man, I just appreciate, this is our second time talking together.
Yes, sir.
Every time it's a great conversation, learn more about you as an artist and as a man, especially as a family man. So I think for me, it's important to learn more about the people that I connect with, so if I'm interested in your art, my only thing would be if it's in your cards, maybe connecting more with people through social media, maybe a YouTube video, things like that, where people could really understand who you are.
Right.
I think it makes them appreciate the art a little more, Just like Torae, I had to push to get him to do live videos and more things, and
That's facts. That's facts.
So I think it'll do a lot.
Once this episode of Daily Conversation drops, numbers is going through the roof.
Oh, of course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But definitely, man, I appreciate your time. Thank you for catching up, being our first guest. Hopefully it's all uphill for all of us now. So appreciate it, man.
Looking forward. We're gonna do this again one day.
Of course, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, man. Daily Conversation. Your boy Torae, Bova's here. Yes. Let's make some noise one time for Robert Peterson. Y'all clap it up.
Yes.
Clap it up, Bo.
I thought you were gonna hit the button. He has the clap button ready to go.
I was waiting for that.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I appreciate y'all, man.
Definitely. I'll be in touch.
That'd be great. Peace.
All right, y'all take care. Be safe.
You too, man.
That shit crazy.
Welcome to Daily Conversation. Hope you enjoyed the show.